Whatever.
Okay.
YouTube, I guess.
We're going to give it a second because the Restream IO, it says sending data
Okay.
for YouTube events, and now it says online. So let me go to my channel. And we should theoretically also be live right now on Twitch and Mixer.
Okay.
And we should theoretically also be live. Yep. All right. So let me send that to you. And I'm going to post it on Twitter because we are live.
Hello, interwebs.
Yeah, hello, interwebs. Welcome to another edition of the Greatness Delayed podcast. I guess I'll start by saying I'm your host, Michael Zupan. I'm here this evening with usual co-host Gustavo and our sometimes co-host Gus, Gabe. How you guys doing?
I am great. I'm great now.
Oh, because you've just been dying to get on the podcast. Is that what's going on?
Absolutely.
Well, that's fantastic. And how about you, Gabe, who cannot always join us? Yeah, right.
Gus Gabe?
Gus number 2.
I'm fine. I'm a little bit sleepy, but I'm fine.
Sleepy's okay. It's understandable where you're coming from all the way over in Pasta Land, Marioville. Yep. His cat is named Mario, by the way, everybody.
Yes.
How fucking Italian can you get? Like cliche Italian. My cat's a Mario. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So we're going to jump right into things because we got a lot of stuff that we want to talk about tonight. But first, I know you two guys just wrapped up a video game that you guys have been playing on a franchise that you both hold very near and dear to your hearts. Talk about that. Who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go. We both finished Yakuza 6. Right, Gus?
Oh, you finished it. Okay.
Yep.
Damn, that was fast because I feel like I don't think you started it when I first mentioned it to you.
Nope. I've been basically doing shit for the last 2 days. So I was like, hey, just dive into Yakuza 6. And finally, I liked it. I didn't love it. My favorite one is still Yakuza 0, but Yakuza 6 is such a fucking pleasure to play. Like they fixed all the annoying shit of the old ones. I'm kind of bummed that you can't like store weapons and the different combat styles and everything. But other than that, like very, 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 very good game.
It's because if people don't know too, it's sort of a send-off for the main character of the game, Kazuma, who's been like the guy you play as for the last decade that the series has been going around. And that doesn't mean the franchise is done because there's a new protagonist coming up for the next game.
Oh, they are going to actively make another. Okay.
They introduced him a while back, and he's like a really different guy from the Kiryu. But yeah, like I felt the same way. Like I really liked the game. Like I didn't love it as much as like Zero kind of impacted me. It's kind of a weird in between because Kiwami 2 came out also. But because like I played so much Yakuza in the year, like I saved Kiwami 2, like I put it aside, like because I didn't want to be burnt out on Yakuza. But yeah, like it's such a good story. It's one of my favorite soundtracks in the series. Like that's
for sure.
It's like workout music at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to really, without getting too into the story. Like it's just a great send off for who was a really fun character. It's actually pretty emotional a lot of the way. I would still recommend it to people because the Yakuza's franchise is getting easier and easier to get into now that like Zero's come out. You just gotta wait for like whatever they do with I think 3 and 4, like if they re-release it or remake it or what. But there's no better time to get into Yakuza than now, people.
And if you don't want to get into Yakuza, but you want to get into Yakuza style games, there's a great game coming out the 6th or the 2nd of October, which is Fist of the North Star, made by the Yakuza people.
Oh, it's made by the same development studio.
Yeah, they're also making a game that's like Yakuza, but with like a lawyer.
Yeah, but did they announce a date for that?
No, I don't think so.
They just announced the game, right?
Yeah.
Because I know when I want to get into some awesome action, I want to be a fucking lawyer.
Yeah, but he's a lawyer who beats people up.
Oh, well, that's the best kind of lawyer.
There are some segments actually in Yakuza 6 that are like a little bit like you do a little bit of investigation, like very, very, very mild shit. But yeah.
Gotcha. So, I don't know what else I've been playing, honestly. I haven't been gaming too much. Actually, I'm a liar. I have been playing Skyrim again because I was on vacation in Florida and I bought it for the Switch, and I thought I was going to regret my purchase, but you know what? It was an awesome way to kill about 9 hours in the evenings while it was raining in Florida and I had nothing to do, and also the airplane ride home because I did bring the Switch with me, and it's been a great way to unwind at the end of the day when I head up in bed and lay in bed playing the game in bed. It actually doesn't translate too bad to the small screen. The only minor complaint that I have is that sometimes when you're hunting, and the way that the draw distance in that game inherently works is that you might get a little too close to like a steer or something before, while you're sneaking up on it, before you realize, oh shit, I just scared it off. But for the most part, everything else translates extremely well. So I've been happy playing that. Dead Cells, I've been doing that now that it's officially released. That game's fun. Have you guys played that?
I have it on Switch, but I haven't played a lot of it. Like I made it to like the 3rd stage, and then I died, and I'm like, I'll come back to this eventually.
That's fair.
I haven't played it yet.
You should.
I definitely want to.
It's addictive. It's addictive for sure. Like it's the randomly generated levels every single time that you die, but you get certain things and then you keep those things depending on what they are, and yeah, it just makes you want to keep going.
There are so many Metroidvania games this year.
There are, and
my God,
there's going to be one of the actual Metroidvanias that people love to play coming to PS4 soon. Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood has been rated by the ESRB. It's been rated over in the eastern part of the world. It's coming. I'm a little disappointed already, just because I know it's going to probably be a digital only release, and I want a physical copy of that if it comes out. Maybe GameStop will do like an exclusive
maybe limited run games as well.
That too. I would pay money to have them physical copies. Rondo of Blood is not an easy game to come by.
It's not an easy game, period.
No, it's not. I've played it. I have run it emulated from a PC emulator from on the PC, and after I got through the pain of setting that up, it was it's a really good game, but it's probably one of the most difficult Castlevanias I've ever played.
Yeah, I played it. The only thing that bums me about that is that I assume it's gonna probably be like a port of the PSP games, like the collection that was on PSP. I hope they. I don't know if I'm hoping for a remaster or some shit, because I don't know if you really can remaster Symphony of the Night. Like
they tried it though on the Xbox Live Arcade, because they did like a reworked graphics overhaul of it, sort of, that like made it look like cleaner and smoother, but you could push a button to switch between the original graphics and it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was
and
bad.
Plus with the Xbox, because they had to meet the size requirement, so you didn't get like the cheesy CGI castle like intro.
Yeah.
And I only remember that because it's funny, they announced that officially that Symphony of the Night's coming to PS4. I bought the PS1 version like for PS3 because I don't know if you guys, I bought a Vita because I needed a handheld PlayStation 1 machine, like so I can take it wherever I go. And then I bought last night Symphony of the Night because I'm like, of course I need this
After
game.
you spend an entire day on Twitter bitching about how awful dealing with Sony software is.
I won't go into that here because we don't have.
Where else are you gonna go into that? This is what we're here for. Like you had some like account integration issues and all this other nonsense, right?
All right, I'll try to be brief about it. So yeah, like this wasn't the first time I owned the Vita. I owned it around the time that it came out, and about a year after it came out, that Sony opened up PlayStation 1 games to the Vita. But you would think that you could just connect a device to another device and copy, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
No, not with Sony. Oh no. So yeah, I couldn't. I bought Metal Gear Solid digitally, and I tried to copy it, but it wouldn't do it until I realized if you have two-factor authentication enabled on your account, you can't copy games from the one Sony machine to the other Sony device on Sony's own authentication system.
I mean,
I didn't know that.
But does it surprise anyone is the question, I guess.
But even better is that if you buy a PS1 game on PS3, you get the game's pre-install files in like a little bubble, and then you install the game. If you install the game, you cannot copy it to the Vita. You have to actually have the pre-install little bubble thing, and that's what the Vita reads, so you can copy your damn games on there. And then there's the fact that the PlayStation 1 library is split between games you can just download directly from the PSN store on your Vita to games you have to have on your PS3 to copy. You thought Nintendo was bad with account shit. Like, oh my god.
Dude, we can't even get fucking name changes, but it does get worse because we're actually going to hit that later on in the show. Sony's fucking bad. Sony's fucking bad. But
I understand, man. I'm late to the Vita game, sort of, because it's long gone and we're on PS4 now. But holy shit, in 6 years that handheld was out, you could not fix that shit.
The way that bottle was shaped and the liquid that he had, it almost looked like he was drinking just straight up olive oil.
No. It's just water with electrolytes.
I wanted to drink olive oil after that.
I bet you did. We hear you. We hear you, Gus.
We hear you.
We hear you. And you guys don't know this because we actually fucking recorded a podcast a while ago, right after E3, and gave a 3-hour amazing show where the running gag the whole time was Gus just steaming, blowing his top. We hear you. We hear you. Because that was Sony's response to the Fortnite thing that was going on, which everybody has conveniently forgotten about by now, which is what they were counting on the entire goddamn time. And it was a riot, but nobody's going to see that footage because YouTube messes us up.
Can you turn off two-factor authentication first before we can hear you?
That's what I feel like happened to the last podcast we did. Some two-factor authentication got turned off, and then the whole show went. So now we're streaming tonight we're on Mixer, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, and I'm recording it locally, so we're not losing anything. We
are the goddamn patriots. We are everywhere.
It's like before I penetrated this podcast, I put on 5 rubbers just to make sure that nothing bad was going to happen. I've got 2 kids. I don't need another. I'd be crazy.
Right.
I've also been playing Sonic Mania. I think, Gus, you were talking about it a long time ago on the podcast. I just want to say that is probably the best 2D Sonic that I've played. It's actually really well done.
It probably is, but like it is, but still, like, it's a 2D Sonic basically is my criticism of it.
I hear you. But I don't. Yeah, those old games are super frustrating, but I feel like the really obnoxious stuff, I think they've at least scaled it back a bit. Because, like, I know that the water stuff was insanely dumb back in the day because it felt like at certain points in the game there was a lot of it, and maybe it's because I'm not far enough in, but I did get a little bit of it. But like, you're in and out of those sections pretty quickly. It seems like they've really mitigated those issues to a certain degree.
Did that game get an update or something, or like an expansion?
They when back in, I think, around July. I only remember that because of the time frame of things going on, which I'm stupid. I wanted to dedicate this podcast to my grandmother at the beginning of the show, and I did not do that. She had stuff going on, and around that time I stopped at a local Target. Sonic Mania came out on the Switch with a physical copy, and the physical copy was part of all the platforms receiving an update that it was on, to my knowledge, that included new content. So they call it Sonic Mania Plus, I think that's what they're calling it. So because I had never played it before, I really don't know what the extra content is. I have no frame of reference for comparison, so I can't really say. All I can say is that I've been playing it and I've been enjoying it. Pretty good. It's pretty good. The only complaint that I have overall is that, you have like, 2 or 3 lives, and then, you get enough points or whatever, you'll get an extra life or something every once in a while. But like, some of the stages that you go through are super long, and you go through the really long stage and then you come to a boss. So it's like, if you happen to lose those lives and get to the boss and you die and it's game over, like, you don't start back at the beginning of the game. There is save progress. So you start at the beginning of that. I don't know if it's the beginning of that stage or that zone, but going back to the beginning of whatever it is you have to go back to, it's kind of like I have to go all the way back here sort of moment. That's the only critical thing that I have to say about the game overall. Otherwise, it's fun. And for, a 2D Sonic controlling sort of a system, which can be tedious and terrible at times, I don't really get that here with this game. They've done a pretty good job at balancing old school Sonic, but in a way that's not completely frustrating.
I meant to play it, but I still haven't. So
another game you should mean to play is Blossom Tales, because that game's a lot of fun. I
have no idea what that is.
Blossom Tales is the game that's basically a straight up clone of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Oh yeah. You showed me. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's I hate to use the word charming for anything. It does have charm out the ass, though. Like, the dialogue with the character is written simply, but it's cute. And it's all told through the framework of, like, sitting down at the beginning of the game and these 2 kids and, like, their grandfather's telling them a story. And there's simple things in this game that I really like, because whenever you leave the game and turn off your Switch or whatever platform you're walking away from and you go back into the game, as you're going into the game, it sort of like starts with the grandfather being like, okay, so now the character is here and they have to do this, what are they going to do? Like, it kind of reminds you where you're at in the story with the game. That's something that you don't see too often in the game, where, like, every single time you boot up the game, it's like, last time on Blossom Tales, like, but in a narrative sort of way. I really like that. It's not an overly difficult game. It usually tells you where to go. But you have, it's Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. You have this big overworld, and there's minor changes. Like, you still have, like, arrows and bombs and stuff like that, and you have to choose which ones that you want to do. And each time you fire a bomb or an arrow, it depletes what would be your magic meter. But unlike Link to the Past, where you have to get little things of magic in order to fill it up as you're killing enemies, it's actually based on, like, a cooldown timer. So, I feel like things can get a bit more chaotic on screen with enemies coming after you, more and more enemies at once. But so the cooldown timer actually works in its favor here. It doesn't make the game too easy or anything like that. It's a fun little game. I'm always skeptical whenever anybody comes out with a Link to the Past style sort of clone, because you're not going to top a Link to the Past. It's probably the best Zelda game of all time. And
without probably.
It depends on what day of the week you ask me, right? Like, I feel like almost objectively it's probably the best Zelda game of all time, but, like, romantically I sway between that and Ocarina of Time a lot.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's not going to surpass that, but it is probably the most competently most fun to play Zelda clones that I've ever played. I enjoy it a lot. So, other than that, I've just been, whenever I've had a chance, I've been playing Call of Duty World War II. And speaking of which, I tried the Black Ops 4 beta, both of them.
Black Ops,
Yeah, I. And they should call it I, because it's not good. It's not good.
I set them up, you knock them down.
Right? That's how it's supposed to work. Hey, podcast. So yeah, I'll just say really briefly, I've been on a Call of Duty kick the last year or so, this year at least anyway. Like, I kind of stepped away from it for a while. But I did get into Call of Duty World War II sometime in the middle of the year after I heard positive things being done for changing the game and everything like that. And I got really into it. Like, it made me fall in love with that game again. And I was like, great, let's see what's going to happen with Black Ops 4. And the multiplayer beta came out with the deathmatch and everything over the summer. And I played that, and I didn't like it at all. Like, they made it so it's more... I feel like they were trying to go for a more Overwatchy sort of thing, because you have to pump more bullets into your prey before they actually will die. And of course, there's different class of characters that you can choose that have different abilities than other ones. So I'm like, if I want that, I'm just going to play Overwatch, because Call of Duty is not going to compete. And I feel like the bullet sponge aspect of it is lame, because it doesn't feel like Call of Duty at all. And then, of course, there was the I forget what the name of the mode is, but it's basically the Battle Royale mode that they had just tested the other week. And I was kind of hoping, I was excited to see what they might do with it. They didn't do anything with it. It's just PUBG in single player, and PUBG already has a first person, I mean. PUBG already has a first person mode. And everybody's clamoring over this new mode from Call of Duty. It's like, it's so awesome to play the same exact game now, but that's only because it's so well optimized. It's so awesome to not play a game that's full of jank. And it's like, I'm playing it, and I'm seeing like flashes of like light against like surfaces and stuff that I'm not supposed to be seeing when I'm indoors and stuff. Like, I've seen some jank. I've seen some stuff that hasn't been completely cleaned out yet, but I mean, it's just PUBG. It's not like, even down to the visual design of the buildings and the environment, like it does nothing different. Which in that respect, I can actually probably understand why so many people gravitate towards Fortnite compared to PUBG, because it is different and it's cartoony and it's more kind of fun and just different. But when Call of Duty adapts the same exact freaking style, doesn't impress me, especially since there's only going to be, so many maps at launch, and 4 of them are remakes of old maps.
Plus,
You're talking about it just as if they just tacked it on.
Oh, geez, is that what they did?
Yeah.
Plus, on top of that, Fortnite is actually like not veering away from the Battle Royale, but they're adding different modes, like for people to try to keep them around too. Like I tried the playground mode that I actually dug, and it's just like you and 4 other people, and you can do whatever you want in that game. Like, no, you're not limited by that. And then they had that Vegas chase. No, what is it? Like some kind of chase high stakes mode that was like some kind of like weird game thing that was not the Battle Royale. So on top of that, Fortnite's trying to be different too. That's a funny thing. And meanwhile, these other games are just like Battle Royale, man. That's still a thing. And
yeah,
I know through a friend of mine that has kids, that they're actually the kids are actually starting to dig into the Save the World mode.
I feel like that's got to be a very small misrepresentative sample that you're collecting, because
I'm not saying they're shifting away from Battle Royale in favor of.
I know, but like maybe over there, because I feel like sometimes things maybe catch on differently, and I'm sure it's been better for that original Fortnite game's sales to have Battle Royale take off. I don't think that it's like, whoa, people are really getting into this. Like, that's just me. It's just a hunch. I haven't seen any data or numbers, and if there's anybody,
well, if you compare it to Battle Royale, for sure, it's not.
Oh no, but like I don't know, like, because I don't know. My son never seems interested in trying out that old mode, and like when he's watching YouTubers, like he doesn't give a crap about it. But he's also a small sample. He and his friends. Just my experience seeing what they do, But yeah. So I don't know if I have anything else to report with games being played. You guys?
We have, but what we do, but it's one of the topics that we have in the rundown. So
we can move into it.
I can't wait for it.
I finished Spider-Man the other day.
Oh
yeah, give us your thoughts on that, because I'm waiting for my new super badass TV to arrive before I play it.
So, if you've played mechanically, if you've played a Spider-Man game in the last like 15 years, it's a Spider-Man game. But I don't mean that like in the negative. Like they're good, like when that Spider-Man game came out in like 2000, it's like pretty much laid the foundation of like how a Spider-Man game.
You're talking about Spider-Man 2 from like Xbox era gaming?
No, I'm talking about like the first like Spider-Man Activision Neversoft, like when that came out. And
Oh, okay.
from there, Spider-Man 2 based on the movie came out and pretty much was like an evolution of that.
Yeah, it was a
And
damn good game.
That's pretty much like what that foundation is for Spider-Man game as far as like traversing a map and combat and all of that's gonna go. And if you're like that still, you will enjoy Spider-Man. But the thing about Spider-Man that really stood out was how much the story how much the story elevates all that. Because the story was actually a lot better than I had anticipated. You know, like even you can call some story beats like from from a mile away, but there are still some moments, and there are actual like pretty emotional moments in that game. I was very taken aback by like how well done a lot of those scenes were, and I thought it was a really good. It was a better experience than I thought it would be, basically.
Well, that's good to hear. Like, you want that to happen with a game like this, you know?
Yeah, it's very rare where like a game, like a superhero game, where you kind of know what you're getting into. So when you're almost done with it, you're like kind of happy to be done with it. But I was hooked into that story. Like I wanted to know what happened next. Like I couldn't put it down.
Well, buckle up, because we're going to be inundated, because they're saying now actively that in the video game world, this Spider-Man game is basically the equivalent of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Iron Man film, which means they're kicking off a whole fucking thing from here. So things are going to get real crazy.
Let's hope the sequel to this game is as good as the first game and not like Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I actually just watched that recently. It's not as bad as I thought I remembered it being, but it wasn't as good as the first. But sequels rarely ever are, right? So,
well, learn to let go, as the dude says in the movie.
yeah, Mickey Marbles full of shit, Rourke, everybody. So, yeah, the other game that we actually we had a conversation about this on the last podcast that we did, but we thought it was important enough to talk about it again, because it's an important conversation, because nobody's talking about this. I even wrote a piece for this on this very reason on bitesizeimpressions.com, so you can go read my thoughts completely in full on there if you want to do some
Shameless
light reading
plug.
one day. Not so shameless. It's all over the fucking screen here. You know? So, God of War, and the topic is it as good as everybody says that it is? We'll just go right down the line, left to right. Gus, is it as good as everybody says it is? Yes or no?
I don't think so.
Gabe.
No, let's go with no.
No.
And I'm gonna say no. And that's not. I don't think it's a terrible game. But we'll start left to right again. I won't hog this one. So Gus, what is it about God of War for you that sort of de-escalates it from all the hype that has basically made it like, oh, it's a 9 and a 10 no matter where you go? It's 9s and 10s everywhere. What about it that makes it? What is it about that game that makes it less than for you?
I'll borrow what someone had told me. How they felt about the game. This should have just been a fucking action game. Like when I play through this game, and look, man, like the production values are gorgeous. It is a great looking game. You know, like so a lot of the environment, like a lot of the Midgard environment design is great. I will admit I haven't finished it. I don't know when that's gonna be, if that's gonna be. I'm gonna hold on to my copy though, but it's just like there's no I don't get a sense of progress when I play that game. I just feel like I'm going from point A to point C, but I have to stop at point B for like 2 hours, and point B is the most generic Destiny looking map, like that I had to spend all this time in and fight all these obnoxious enemies and like
The same enemies.
The same enemies over and over to like a boss battle that was just kind of like super lather rinse repeat, and then back to the mountain or whatever, and it is just so tedious. It is a tedious experience. I couldn't it's not even like I was having trouble with the game. And even when I was doing side stuff, because you can do like those dwarf side missions or whatever, I do those, and that's the only time like I come close to like, okay, maybe this is all right. But the rest of the time, like every time I played that, even, and this isn't just now, we're in September, that game came out in April. It wasn't just now, where like every time I played that game, it wasn't like Spider-Man where like I didn't want to stop playing, but I had to. I had to put my time to better use. I never felt like I had to come back to God of War, other than the fact that I spent money on it.
Right. So
And that's it. It's tedious. That's the sum of it. I find it tedious.
how about you, Gabe? What do you want to add?
Almost nothing. I mean, I found it boring as fuck. I think it's one of the worst games that came out lately. The story goes nowhere. The gameplay is honestly stupid between the fucking camera, the camera choice. Like, and they know the camera is stupid because you both have an indicator on screen and the kid yelling at you when they attack from behind, which clearly signals that you can see shit. And they didn't think of fixing it. The kid is just, I don't know why they put it in. Like, I have no idea. I honestly have no idea. And the best part is that, like, last month or this month, I don't remember, there's a, for free on PS Plus, God of War 3 Remastered. So I was like, let me just refresh my memory. And I downloaded it and it's fucking great. Like, I've never been a huge fan of God of War. So I'm not like a fanboy, but I played them all. And yeah, they were just better than this one. This one is like, it's gorgeous to look at. So I have friends that are the artsy type and whatnot, and they love the visuals and everything. And I understand that. Like, it's like, even though it's a fake open world, it can be gorgeous to look at times.
Oh, sure.
But the story, the characters, like it's a game that wants me to care so bad for the kid and the wife, and I don't give a shit. So I don't know, man. I was like 10 hours in. I just fucking
I looked up a guide because I was like, how much more of this game do I have left? And like, I felt like I had been playing for like 40 hours, and I was not even halfway through the game. I can't do this for however much more time it's gonna, because like, again, if this had just been like an action game on its own with, fine, you want to add the skill progression and all that, you want to have me pay to unlock moves like with, and all that, whatever.
yeah.
But like, you just have these dumb puzzles. It's not even like challenging. I don't nothing.
And they're the same puzzles.
They're the same.
Yeah.
It's the same puzzle with 3 different variations. It's smash the 3 ruined vases, okay? The first challenge is just straight up find all 3 and smash them. The second challenge is smash them all within a certain time frame. And the third challenge is they got runes on these like little spinny, column things that you throw your axe at to spin them around, and then you have to figure out what order the runes are supposed to be in before the magical chest opens up. And it never changes throughout the whole game. And part of my issue with the game and why I'm like, this is tedious, as Gus had put it so eloquently and diplomatically. It's every time you start to gain some momentum, it's like, wow, that area looks really fucking cool, and I'm in there and I'm starting to attack all these bad guys, and all of a sudden the action just stops. It just stops. It's like, here's 3 more vases. Can you find them all? So you can open the chest, and you don't want to go past these things. Like, you can theoretically blow past them and just, play the game, but you don't want to, because those give you your health upgrades and everything. Like, so they sort of almost trap you into wanting to do the tedious shit, even though you don't really want to do it.
And I've heard people saying, when I complained about the combat and the camera and whatnot, and I have a friend that you might know, Marco. And he went, well, the old ones were all like fucking square, triangle, and you could finish the game like that. Well, guess fucking what? I was playing on Give Me God of War difficulty, and that's the fucking same. So I don't know what people see in this game. Like I think it's been a very, very good hype operation.
It is. And you know what? I feel like the hype train, like the evidence, I feel like hindsight's always, 2020 in the rearview mirror and everything, but I feel like all the evidence was there to let us know that this was a product maybe in trouble, that they just happened to put out something that was a lot better than I think they ever thought it was going to be. Because at PSX, the winter before the game's release, like they did that stupid thing where it's like, hey, come out and sit on a couch and talk to us for an hour. That's what people want to see, not gameplay footage or anything. So they had Cory Barlog out there, super nice, awesome dude, pleasure to listen to. Definitely, you can tell he puts his heart and his soul into everything, and that he is wanting the best for this game. But you could tell listening to that guy during that, like, I knew even then, he's like, oh, he's nervous. Like, he's talking about the game in a bit of a way without being too revealing that says, yeah, the game's coming out soon and we're going to be ready, but we have a lot of work left to do. And then as the game was coming out, there was a lot of interviews that were coming out with Cory. And these interviews, he's basically saying, like, yeah, there were people who were working on this element of the game and that element of the game just months even before release. They were like, we don't even know how this is going to piece together, and they were concerned. And then as we were starting to get to the finish line, like, things started clicking together and they were like, oh, okay. But the game definitely very much reflects through my playthrough a game that didn't get to realize its full potential because of time constraints in development. But he said himself that the reason why we don't have those big badass boss battles for the most part throughout the game is because they didn't have time. Okay,
but still, you didn't have time to do that, but you had time to put a fucking sequence where I have to walk around with a fucking boar, my arms, and I have to just push forward to walk. Like, what fucking gameplay is that?
The point of that is to look at the beautiful tree with all
fuck that.
the saturated red leaves and the turtle thing. Come on,
dude. I'm the kind of player that goes around and scouts and just I stop and look at vistas in games. Like, I don't need you to make me do that.
I'll give you a perfect example. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And also the fucking urgency of saving this fucking saint boar, and like, if you stand around and do shit, the boar is not gonna die. So yeah, so far for the urgency of that. Like, it's so, like, it feels like something out of 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, as far as I also get turned off by that fake open world, as you called it too, because everybody's like, yeah, it's an open world, and it's like, it's not really an open world. It's as much as an open world as Ocarina of Time was. Like, the Ocarina of Time, it like, Mario 64 was limited when they were making that game, because they were like, well, we can't do a big open world, so we're just going to have the castle, and then we're going to have the paintings inside the castle for you to jump through, and that will take you to the levels. In Legend of Zelda, they almost did the same thing with Ocarina of Time. They were dangerously close to coming to that, but then they realized, oh, well, you know what? We can actually work with this. Let's make Hyrule Field. It won't have a bunch of stuff in it, but it'll be vast and it'll be open, at least anyway. And each of the different areas you have to go to throughout the campaign they'll be connected, but they'll be disconnected. That's the hub area. God of War does the same exact goddamn thing. Like, that's not innovative design. I see people praising the game for, oh, it's designed so well. The level design is great. And they're confusing level design with graphical design. One thing that the artists of this game do a fantastic job with is leading you to an area and making it seem like you feel dwarfed being in the presence of this big giant that's laying dead in the snow and the ice for millennia, and it makes it look like it's open and you could go anywhere if only that thing's not blocking your path. And it's not the typical mountain usually or anything. Like, they're very good at giving you the illusion that things are wide and open, but it's not. If you were to strip away all the graphics and just look at the areas that you're able to walk through, they're very linear paths. And then every once in a while you get to a little bit of a wide open space so you can beat some bad guys down. Then you go through another very linear hallway type path, and then it's, oh, let's smash the vases again. And it's add and repeat throughout.
And you said something important, like you said, strip away the graphics, and that's the way people should judge the game. I think this game, because I think they are blinded. Yeah. Like if it had shit graphics, people would be, it's a game.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that I hated playing it. It's just after about a dozen hours, I walked away from it, and then I played a few more hours at some other point later on. I returned to it, and then I was like, I'm done. And I'm like, I'm halfway through the game though. Like I can't keep doing this to myself. You know,
it's exhausting. It's an exhausting game.
And
it is.
You know, I have a friend that loved it, and we talked about it like a week ago or so, and he was like, but you got to stick with it. Like about 10 to 12 hours in, it gets awesome. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this is Final Fantasy 13 all over again.
Is this Fallout 4?
Yeah, I mean,
except people, it never gets awesome.
I don't know if people realize that that's not really a point in favor of a game.
No,
like being good 10 hours in.
I know, like, I remember that too. It was like, oh, the world finally opened up like 20 hours FF13. And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
What's the story about again?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
DLC and the Falsey.
Yeah. I'm super happy for Cory Barlog and his team and everything.
Like,
for
cool,
having
the game's a hit. That's like the game's a hit. People do like it, but like I just don't. Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah, and I'm happy. Like, it's not like I'm running around the internet and telling everybody, pointing my finger in their face, saying this game is terrible. What's wrong with you? Like I did with Destiny, because that game is terrible. And
what's wrong with you?
Right. What's wrong with you, motherfuckers? Like that. And people are still like, it's taken a year now, again, for Destiny 2 to be like, oh, we finally added the shit in the game that makes it seem like it's actually a game worth playing now. And I'm like, you fuckers are falling for the same goddamn rope-a-dope that happened with Destiny. Like, let's hope that this is showing the direction that the franchise is supposed to go in. And it's like, you're going to go through it again, aren't you? You're going to buy the third goddamn Destiny.
It's like they're tied with a chick. Like, yeah,
oh my
not
God.
this time, but I'll blow you next time. I promise. Like,
there are worse things happening out there in the video game world, though, and it's been the hottest story that's been rampaging through everything lately, and it's Telltale Games. And they're not closed, but it seems like their closure has to be imminent at some point. For anybody who's not really aware, obviously Telltale Games is most notably known for doing the Walking Dead games, starring the character that everybody loves at this point, Clementine, and of course Lee from the first season. Lee, we miss you.
A character I'd rather watch than Rick at this point.
And hey, you get your wish, because Rick's not going to be on the show anymore. So
yeah, thank God.
Yeah,
I stopped watching the show years ago, but my God.
Yeah,
kill everything with fire on that show.
Yeah, the actor who plays Rick is leaving. The actress who plays Maggie is leaving. I mean, it's supposed to be Rick's story. Like, how can, and like AMC's like, we've got another 10 years for the franchise plan. It's like,
are they gonna kill them or
is that
something?
a threat?
We don't know what's going to happen. Some of the speculation has been is that for anybody who reads the comics, there is the this other faction, a sort of a hostile faction, sort of called the Whisperers, and they're supposed to be getting introduced, I guess, into this next season finally, which is a season and a half too late, I think, at this point. But they're thinking maybe he might go with them, but there's also been reports saying that his departure from the show might kind of be sad. So we don't know what's gonna happen. I don't really care anymore. So yeah, Telltale Games, they did the very excellent, I thought it was an excellent series that they did with their storytelling for their take on The Walking Dead in that universe. A lot of people also really appreciated The Wolf Among Us. Some people even preferred it. They've done a bunch of other things. I think one of the other more notable
Tales
ones.
of the Borderlands was fucking good.
Yeah, people like that.
I like that game a lot.
I never got into that one just because I never really cared for the Borderlands games themselves. But I heard good things about the story. And Minecraft Story Mode, I do know firsthand that game, that's pretty cool. I like that. But anyway, they did fire some employees. You know, they had to let some people go about a year or so ago.
was it?
Well, not last time. That was something like 80 or 90 employees, I think, about a year or so ago. But yeah, this time I think they had a total of 250 employees, and I think they let 225 of them go. And it was not like you've got 60 days, you've got 2 weeks. It was just like, you got to get the fuck out of here. You guys don't work here anymore. Just out of nowhere. And these guys are like, okay, I just moved here like a month ago to work with you guys. What the hell's going on? And Telltale's like, you got to get out of here. And then after they leave, you know, they online, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, there's no severance package.
That's what happened to Kojima's people at Konami. Like, they weren't given like the formal exit. Like, they showed up to work one day and their fucking ID cards, like, to get into the building, stopped working.
I mean, that's so that's so bad. But you know, apparently the story with the Telltale thing is that horrible management is what it comes down to, first and foremost. I mean, we got to get that out of the way. Horrible management, because it's like, if you know, it sounded like everything hinged on some financial backer saying, here, have $40 million so that you can continue operations and continue business as usual. And then I guess it's rumored it might have been Lionsgate, because Lionsgate has helped them before, and Lionsgate's in the movie business, and I guess they've been, I don't know, whatever deal they've been working out with them, but I guess very abruptly, Lionsgate or whoever it was that was the financial backer was just like, nah, sorry. And then Telltale management had to be like, we don't have money to operate anymore. We got to shut down. Sorry, guys, you're gone.
Yeah, I think some tweets I read especially said that Minecraft story mode was the moneymaker for them. And that the Batman series that they had done was like a huge bomb.
Yeah, I felt like that showed up for free on PS Plus like sooner than it should have. That was a red flag to me a while back.
Also, Game of Thrones showed up too.
Yeah, that too. But I felt like there was more of a time span that lapsed between Game of Thrones and the Batman. I could be wrong, but
I don't remember.
I don't know how well that did. I was never interested in that. Like, between the TV show, if I want more Game of Thrones, I'll just go and read the original books, because I've never read them. So I don't need the Telltale wedging a story in the middle of all that. It's already convoluted enough, you know, in that universe. So, apparently, like, the remaining few employees that are left are supposed to be still working on Minecraft. They were in the middle of the final season of The Walking Dead, just releasing the second out of 4 episodes, I believe. And there was no option. There was no option to buy episodes individually. It was buy all or nothing, the season pass. So there's a lot of customers that are potentially going to be left out in the lurch here, because as of right now, it's canceled. Wolf Among Us Season 2, which they announced, I think, around E3 time this year, canceled. Everything that they were ever going to do again, done. So it makes you wonder how long before they actually officially shutter. Now, Gabe, I'm going to go to you, because you and I had an interesting conversation the other day. How do you feel about moving into a world without Telltale games anymore?
Awesome. I'll be honest. Like, I'm not sad that they failed. Like, everybody could have seen it years ago. I played The Walking Dead first season. I liked it, and then I played it with my lady, and then me and the lady bought the second season. And halfway through it, we were like, "Oh, wait! So, like, all our decisions don't mean shit anymore."
Wait, it took you the second season to realize that?
Well, I was told that everything would carry over, like my every choice would be important in the second season, and no. So I was like, just fuck off. And then I saw them like just fucking pulling out game after game after game, and it's always the same fucking game with a different skin and a different story. I think, like, the employees talked about it, about creative stagnation and lack of ideas, and it fucking showed in the games. So I'm not surprised they didn't sell shit. I'm not surprised they closed. So yeah, I'm not particularly sad for that company. Sorry.
Yeah, what I found interesting in our conversation the other day, though, is like you did not seem to have a lot of sympathy for even the employees that were affected by this.
Well, dude, the thing is, first of all, if you work in a company like that, it's very rare that you don't know what's going on. Like, I understand the Kojima Pro side of things. In Japan, it works different. But if you're in like in a West company and you don't know what's going on a little bit higher than you, I mean, you're fucking oblivious. So I think they all knew. And also, I mean, if they complain now about creative stagnation, nobody's fucking forcing you to work for that company. I know you Mike walked away from jobs. I walked away from jobs because we were not happy. So they are sounding now like they were not happy before, like for the treatment, the pay, the hours that they were working. Just fucking walk away. I mean,
I agree and I disagree.
Comfy. I think they get comfy. People get comfy. They get on a chair on their computer and they just like, oh, everything's gonna be fine. And then when shit hits the fan, they're gonna complain. So
I agree and I disagree, because I've been in positions where I've been unhappy in jobs, or they tried to push me into a situation that I didn't want to be in, and it was usually a positive thing. It's because they wanted my expertise to help fix, their problems. And I said, I'm proud of what I'm doing here usually, and I don't want anything to do with that. I'm gonna stay right here. And they're like, no, you're not. You're gonna go over there. And I was like, right there, buddy. So I've walked from jobs, but you see, usually that was open sector. It was retail. It was hospitality. It was, stores. It was restaurants, or whatever it was, just generally speaking, it's different than having a video game job where you're developing video games. It's not as easy to just be like, well, I'm gonna get another video game developer job tomorrow, I have the opportunity in those cases to like just bide my time and find another job before I say screw you and walk off from the other job.
Especially in the work culture of this, not only just the work culture of this country in particular, but the Telltale thing speaks for the umpteenth time about what a fragile fucking thing the game industry is.
Well, it's a $36 billion industry.
It's a $36 billion industry that keeps having trouble sustaining itself, though.
That's not true, though.
It's not the industry that's having trouble. Yeah. It's the management of all these companies.
It's the little guys that are taking it in the ass, because if you talk to publishers and promoters and whatnot, they're making the big bucks.
That's what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
The developers in there that get that have to fucking crunch because that's the way management runs it in a fucking industry that wants to make profits, but they want to keep prices at $60 or whatever, and then try to subsidize that with microtransactions and shit, which is another topic we're gonna get into in a bit. But I'm just saying, you can't pretend the games industry just it functions in a shitty way that they like it, that execs like it. I mean,
yeah, because look, based on some experience that we've had in the last year and a half, at least, we understand completely what it's like to have the little guy get shit on. It's the big guys, they're making the decisions. You're very separated from the little people are very separated from the big people, and it's just we're gonna throw the fucking scraps of steak gristle that's left on our plates underneath the table, and you can eat that or go fuck yourselves. That's how some of this stuff works, and of course the video game industry, which pulls in so much money, it's not surprising to hear that that's how that works. But there's a difference usually between the usual story, which we see in the news, which is EA just fired this team of people. And it's a sad story because it's this studio had a lot of talented people. EA acquired them, and it seems like anytime EA does that to some outside third-party developer, they end up getting canned eventually because EA is like, well, we don't need you anymore. In this case, it is a blatant case of everybody just working happy, hunky-dory, and they just management if management knew that all of their business was hinging on one buyer, one financer coming through and being like, here's your money, you should communicate with your staff and maybe have a monthly meeting or something and being like, so listen, here's the deal. Our stuff has not been selling fantastically, and it's not really because of you guys. You guys are doing a great job and you're proud of the work that you're doing, and we're proud of the work that you're doing. However, the problem is that just on the other end, we've reached a point of oversaturation maybe, and people are not responding sales wise as they used to. And honestly, if this deal doesn't go through, most of you are probably going to have to lose your jobs, and that's not an easy message to convey. It's terrible, but we would encourage you to reach out and maybe start looking around in case we don't want it to lose anybody, but if you happen to find another job.
That's not how it works, Mike.
I know that's not how it works, but that's how it should work.
Yeah, but the second they start looking around, like stockholders or whatever, financiers are going to go, wait a second. I might
Yeah. But I mean, like, and I guess there's a lawsuit now, a class action lawsuit. This just came later in the day today as a piece of news that it's being handed down on behalf of at least one employee, and I'm sure there's other ones behind it since it's a class action suit, which I muffled up there a little bit, which is, I guess in California, I guess they have the WARN law or something like that, where you have to give your employees like a 60 days notice or something before you can do that, so that people, for example, who, maybe a month ago just moved to the area to work for you specifically, don't end up on the street because they've got nowhere else to go now, like, so that they have time to find a job and whatever.
The lawsuit is actually one of the things because one of the reasons that I'm not sorry for the employees. Like, if there were legal illicit things, like, they're gonna have the means to like get their money and get payment and whatever.
But
so
that doesn't help them in however long it takes between now and all this legal litigation that has to happen before they get the money, though.
Yeah, because it could take.
That doesn't pay the bills today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next half a year.
There's so much like garbage red tape between all the litigation, because
and just
say they win it, it could take a long ass time before they see anything, minus all the legal fees they had to put in for this lawsuit. Like,
right, and
it's fucked up. It's fucked no matter what. Like, that's the thing.
Right, and just to explain to other people, like Gabe, okay, I'll be very generic here, okay. He found himself.
Oh, you can be specific.
Okay, he was working for a magazine. I won't name it though. I won't get that specific. But he was working for a magazine, and there were new people, or a new person at least anyway, that came in, and the direction that they wanted the magazine to go was changing so that it was less do good quality op-ed type stuff to, why don't you write something that'll help sell this product and that product and that product? And Gabe was like, get the fuck out of here. That's not what I'm doing. I've got like 15, 20 years doing this shit, and I'm proud of what I write. I'm not doing that for you. I'm out. But Gabe, his exit strategy, and I asked him at the time, is, what the fuck are you going to do? And Gabe's answer is, I'm not worried. It's going to be okay. What do you mean it's going to be okay? Do you have anything lined up? And he's like, no, it always works out though. But then Gabe runs down the list. He's like, but I can repair shit for my friends. I'm good with electronics. I'm good with woodwork. I can repair consoles. I can build arcade cabinets. I can do this. I can do that.
I can write for other people.
He can write for other people. Like, but so like, it's not like he's got anything steady lined up, but he has a vast skill set that he can utilize and people will give him money for. So he's not that concerned, but it's like, that's not everybody. And I feel like there's a disconnect, Gabe, between you and you being the almighty awesome Gabe and realizing that's not everybody's opportunity when they lose a job or walk away from a job. Like, these people are fucked. They're fucked. And it's like, even if you're like going to a new job, like even if you're given like 2 weeks notice and it takes you a couple of weeks to find the new job. Let's say you're out of work for 2 weeks. You start the new job 2 weeks later. There's still a lag in pay. You start at the beginning of week 1. You're not going to get paid at the end of week 1. You're going to get paid for that first week at the end of week 2. So then you're talking an entire month. So, okay, you've got income coming after a month, but what are you going to do once you start getting the money? You're going to spend all your time trying to catch up on the bills that you couldn't pay for that month, and you're never going to get caught up, depending on how much money you're making. Like, you're going to be in a constant financial hole unless something amazing happens to you, or terrible, be it whatever it is. And that's only with being out of work for a couple of weeks. These people have no idea where their next jobs are going to come from or when.
But people lose jobs every fucking day in every fucking industry in this abrupt way, and like, I can't be sorry for everyone. I mean, I'd prefer them to not lose their job, like,
right,
because of course. But dude, like, I'm gonna bet you money that they all have Netflix at home. And why I'm bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because I come from a background in which, at one point in my life, even if I wanted to have Netflix, I wouldn't have had the money to have Netflix, and it's $9 a month or 13 or whatever it is. So, I mean, I've got a friend that her husband left her with 2 kids, and he fucking ran with a Russian chick, and he left her with 2 kids and a house to pay, and he's just gone, disappeared. Like, she is fucked. If you lose the job, like, it's a fucking job. Go scrap toilets for a couple of weeks. You make some bucks. Like, I don't know, man. I just, whatever.
Just
but
like
you
that.
don't know that they're not doing that. Like,
okay, fine. But what pisses me off is they are coming out with statements of how shitty, how enslaving was working there, and I'm like, just get the fuck out. Like, they would still be working in this enslaving and terrible way if they didn't close the company. So what the fuck are you complaining about now?
Because they feel trapped, probably, because...
Well, that's on them, though.
But getting, like, not slave working conditions.
And I'm totally with you on this.
But, like, people also... Getting a job, again, as I was saying earlier, working in the video game industry, that's not an opportunity that crosses your path every single day. And there's a lot of people out there. Just look at the independent video game development scene. And there's a lot of really garbage games that come out. People who don't really have that much talent, or at least haven't finally crafted it enough to make anything worth playing. There's a lot of people who can't get jobs in the industry, so they try to make their own thing. And of course, it ends up on, like, the bottom of a bucket on a million other games that get released on the same day as on Steam, and they never get noticed. So when you get to a company like Telltale, and like, I'm working for this studio, and people play their stuff, they know that the studio's name, it's like a household name at this point for video gamers, at least anyway. Like, are you gonna really be able to leverage that, though, into any other job that you want and just say, I'm gone? Like, it's difficult to be able to do that. And there's a lot of Gabe, there's a lot of interconnectedness in this industry. And you start talking to other people, somebody knows somebody that you don't want them to know, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. He was asking us for a job not so long ago. And then the Telltale management's like, oh, really? Is that what he was doing? Oh, we'll show that motherfucker. Like, we'll blackball you. We'll make sure you don't work anywhere else. How about that? Like, there's a lot of things behind the scenes here that could be potentially risky for saying, well, I'm not happy here, and it's hard work working here, so I'm just going to leave. And even if realistically, if they do that, that's how most development studios work. Crunch time is bad time, long hours.
Which is awful, which is absolutely awful.
It's absolutely awful.
The funny thing is, this isn't even the only studio that shut down this week. Capcom Vancouver shut down.
And nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, considering that they've been on the Dead Rising games for, like, how long now? Like, right. I think since 2 or something.
4 was pretty bad, but I wouldn't say I'm happy the studio shut down. You know what I mean? Like, they made games. People still enjoyed that last game. I wasn't one of them, but that doesn't mean anything. It's like, it's terrible if they shut down and there's no notice. But I will say, admittedly, that this story has been making me a little angry in another way. Because there's a conversation online where it's like everybody is being the good Samaritan on Twitter, which is fine, because I have expressed the same sentiment online as well. But they're saying, whenever you get money, Telltale, if you're making any money off of anything, give your employees severance packages. And you need to take care of your employees. Now, me, being the realistic guy, I say that's right. They deserve that because they got wrong. They got screwed over hard. However, everybody...
They're responding to like a message because Telltale, they said that they might be working with a third party to get that Walking Dead season released, right? Is that what they're...
Yes, the idea is that there are third parties that are interested in finishing Clementine's tale in The Walking Dead in some way, shape, or form. It was very vague, so that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be episodes. It could be in the form of a comic book for all we know, you know. But yeah, there have been parties that have been interested in finishing that story for Clementine, and I don't know how people think that that's going to work out. Like, obviously, Telltale was in enough of a crunch by the financer pulling the money back where they just had to be like, boom, you guys are fired. We literally don't have the money to operate with you working here right now, and there's nothing we don't even have money to give you a severance. And it was even worse than that. It's like your health insurance is going to be over at the end of the month, which was something like 9 days with the month left. You know, like, they really put the screws to them, but it seemed like it's because of their terrible management. There was no other way around it. They just had to be like, sorry, we don't have the money anymore. So yeah, with these third parties, you know, allegedly being interested in wrapping up this final season of The Walking Dead, everybody's like, yeah, pay those severance packages now. I'm like, where do you think the money's going to come from? Telltale doesn't have the money to pay severance packages, number one. And if a third party comes along and says, hey, we'd like to do this, they're going to probably pay for the privilege to be able to use The Walking Dead to be able to get the story out there, and they'll work out some sort of deal where this third party is going to make money. The third party is not going to pay for the employees' severance packages because that's where the money would have to come from. You know, like, the money's not going to come from anywhere else. It's terrible that the employees lost their job. It's awful. You know, I think I've expressed that. I really think it's a shitty situation and they were done wrong, but where is this severance package money going to come from? You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's a fair point also.
Right.
We talked about that earlier when we started the show, like, because, like, you know, people, I get where you're coming from with that, basically.
Even fucking Austin from, you know, Waypoint, he's like, pay those severance packages. And, like, if the third party comes along, it's not going to help.
They're going to have because they're going to have the ball, they're going to have the terms. So they're going to be able to do what they want, and that's probably not going to be a priority for them.
Right. This is not going to be, okay, you guys are flooded with money again scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, and so they're saying, so the other part of this conversation that comes into the play now when some people such as myself bring this up is that I say, and I'm trying to be reasonable, I say, yeah, you got to take care of the employees if you can, but I think everybody needs to be taken care of because, again, as we said at the beginning of this topic, there was no choice for the customers but to buy a complete season pass.
Yeah.
They spent their $20 or $25. What happens to these people now who bought a product that not only was advertised as a complete season, but there was even a roadmap out that only ended in, like, what, December? It wasn't like it went that far out. What happens to all those customers? And then the response that I get from people on Twitter has been, well, the loss of money that you have from buying that season pass is not the same thing as the people who will have lost their jobs. Like, I'm being insensitive about it. I don't think I am. I'm just saying it is another angle that you have to consider because if they're not delivering that season pass, there is a lot of money left on the table that either needs to be refunded or partially refunded or something. And that's another option that can happen because Telltale can't.
How much was the season?
I'll look it up right now. I want to say it was $20, $25.
So basically $5. Like for the last.
Oh no, they got half a season. So I mean,
half a season. Okay.
So if it was $20, $10 per season pass that was sold for people to play it. They only got 2 episodes out of, I think, was supposed to be 4. You know, so but again, they don't have the money to refund people because they don't have money. Yeah. So is there going to be another class action lawsuit from the consumer angle now, basically saying like, you guys screwed us, you can't do that, you know? But So I brought this up online. I was like, everybody across the chain needs to be taken care of. Like, customers absolutely have a right to be upset that Telltale and their poor management steered them wrong and literally stole their money. I mean, if there's anything that a consumer can take away from this, there's obviously a lot of business stuff, and working in this industry, you know, the veil is being lifted here with this story, so a lot of people can see how shitty this industry can be. But the other aspect of it is that consumers absolutely are going to care about their angle and their end of things and having their money essentially robbed from them. And they have every right in... Yeah, go ahead.
Can I be a shithead again? I hope the customers don't get taken care of. Because there's a fucking lesson about pre-orders in there.
I think if they get their money back, though, I think the lesson's probably learned. Right? Wouldn't you think so?
I fucking hope so.
Because that's what I was getting to. Because, like, you know, if there's one thing consumers should take away from this story, it's the evils of buying a product that's not complete in advance.
Buying a promise, not a product.
Right. I mean, it looked like, yeah, sure, they had some issues and like they let go some employees before, but there was no indication that like they were like, you know, puckering their buttholes and waiting for like that deuce to drop before they could get to the toilet. You know what I mean? It's a terrible analogy, but there was no indication of that publicly or anything like that. And customers, you know, it's like, here's a roadmap for the whole season, and it's not going to come out throughout the course of a year. It's going to be in like a matter of a few months, and you're going to have the whole thing, and Clementine's story will be done. And not anymore. It's like, but I've already bought the season pass. What happens now? I don't think that makes me an evil person to point it out that, yeah, customers kind of got the shaft here too. I know that it's not as bad as losing my job, but why can't I give the Zoidberg why not both meme here? You know? You know? Gus, how do you feel about that aspect of it?
No, I feel like you pretty much covered everything that I like. How you covered it just now is pretty much like my takeaway. Okay. On that, because I try to have a realistic perspective on that too. So when I saw you replying to, because Twitter is more emotion based than it is logic based. So
right,
when you were telling people left and right, like, yeah, where is this money from? Like, you can't reason with people on that fucking site. I'll just say that much. It's a shitty situation, and like you said, your TLDR, like everyone should be compensated, or at least there should be a satisfactory ending to this somehow. Might not be realistic, might not be reachable. It sucks, but you know, like them's the breaks, I guess. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's life, I guess, right? That's a shitty lesson for like kids that are 10 years old who follow video game news on like IGN.
You know what? Honestly, that could be a valuable lesson, man. It's like
valuable, sure, but it's like, you know, they're going to learn.
It's a shitty lesson, but a valuable one, man. Kids, the games you buy are like made by people who work 80-hour 2 days. Like,
well, even more broad than that, the lesson that it's teaching them is that life isn't fucking fair, kids.
Life fucking sucks, kids.
Right? Like, you know, like there may not ever be a happy end for anybody involved in this. I mean, Telltale obviously doesn't have money. The employees obviously aren't going to be able to get their money if Telltale doesn't have money. And like the customers, the only way the customers win is if the third party comes in and saves the day and finishes the rest of the season. But then nobody's going to be happy about that because they're going to be like, oh, Telltale is going to get all this recognition for finishing the season, but they're not paying those severance packages. And it's like, you know, like things are not going to work out all sunshine and roses. It's just not, unfortunately, for the story. And there's somebody who actually has come under a lot of fire recently for this story too. It's a YouTuber that we all know by the name of PewDiePie, and he came under fire because basically he was, I swear to God, whatever the article I read was, I could have swapped PewDiePie's name for Gabe's and it would have been like perfect because it was the same exact thing.
Wait. Just to clarify, like it's been like in the last at least 12 years, if not more, that you have been seeing articles online about how shitty working in the video games industry is, how hard the hours are, the fucking crunch times and whatnot.
Yep.
So okay, it's 12 fucking years that everyone says it's shitty. So why the fuck don't they change it? Like, why the fuck do you accept the job there? Like, it just blows my mind.
You're basically saying, why have dreams, basically.
No, but I mean, dude, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not explaining it right. Like,
why have ambitions at all?
No, it's not why. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying fucking work on the inside to change this shit. Like, if they don't coalize, if they don't.
Well, that's actually an interesting point too, because a lot of artists, actually, Kotaku's been a proponent of this for a while, where they talk about how employees in that industry should unionize.
Yeah. It's what I'm saying. So I'm not the fucking devil. I mean, it's just that sometimes it looks like they fucking complain, but they are comfy at the end of the day.
Do you know what PewDiePie said though? What his comments were? Okay,
No.
See, you just went on that whole diatribe, and you don't even know what the fuck we're talking about. PewDiePie basically went out there, and he was just like, Telltale's gone, fuck them. Like, yeah, like the illusion of choice. I played those fucking games, and like, yeah, like they say you can change this and you can change that, and you play the game and you don't change anything in the story. They're tricking people, and it's bullshit and it's terrible. Good, fuck them. I'm glad they're gone. Like, that's basically what his message was. And like, I read that and I was like, if I just replaced PewDiePie with Gabe, like, you and PewDiePie actually have that in common in regards to your feelings for Telltale down to a T. But he caught a lot of heat for this because, people lost their jobs and insensitivity and all that.
Here is the thing, because I feel like Gabe's not going to get it as to why people would even react to it. It's because, A, you don't have a cult of 12-year-old children that like hang on to your every fucking word day in and day out, unless that we're aware of anyway. Mm-hmm. But like the thing is, and I was talking to Mike about this briefly, because Mike, of course, was like, "Well, this is what Gabe feels too," and I'm like, the difference is that it's not like I didn't take umbrage with the opinion. In fact, the funny thing is, I have taken issues with Telltale's engine for like years on those games.
Oh yeah, the engine has always been terrible.
I didn't enjoy, right? But like, in the midst of seeing, I guess because on my timeline, in the midst of seeing employees scrambling to like look for work, trying to get in touch with each other and all this, like, is this really a fucking thing? Like, you really feel like has to be thrown out there in the open about how much you hate that shit? Like, in there, it's not about the opinion itself. It's like, dude, no one cares right now. People are more concerned with this shit. And that's just my take.
He does have a lot of younger listeners, viewers, or whatever that tune into him, and to just kind of be like, when
it's like, why have empathy? Like, don't have empathy, kids. Like, that.
It kind of does reinforce that.
In my defense, I didn't tweet. I don't have a YouTube channel.
Right, so. And that's exactly when I was talking.
But I'm not getting on you for having that opinion.
Right, and even in a private conversation, because when I said to Gus, I was like, "This is fucking Gabe to a T, like right down to the word," and he was like, "Yeah, but like, who cares? Like, he doesn't have a responsibility on his shoulders. He doesn't have an audience that's hanging on to his every word like PewDiePie does. Like
impressionable fucking."
Right, and which actually leads me into this other whole topic that I've been wanting to get into for a long time, because we haven't really done a lot of podcasting this year, and when we did, it just seemed to fail. Like, life got in the way. I had surgery earlier in the year, and us three have all been working together on some writing projects, and that's been taking up a lot of time. I had a death in the family in the summer, which, there was a bit of a lead up to that. And then, of course, I've been dealing with that ever since. Like, it's just, this year has been fucked. So it has not been prime time for podcast time. So there's one thing that happened almost a year ago that I want to touch on and really sort of get my nails into. But the first thing that wanted me to bring this up too was not just PewDiePie, but also Boogie2988. He's another person that video gamers specifically sort of look up to and watch and respect his opinions. And I used to, but it's getting harder and harder and harder to really know what this guy's even up to these days. Like,
fuck that guy.
Yes, Gus. Yes.
Yeah, like I used to like him some years ago
I thought
because
I would be like diplomatic about it, or he's teetling on like, fuck that guy, fuck Boogie 2988. Fuck yourself.
I used to like him because he used to be the guy, the average Joe, who would get in front of the camera and be like, this shit's fucked up in the industry. I'm calling you out for it and you need to fix it and do something about it. Like, and then a lot of people were watching his videos. So like what he used to say carried weight, but then something happened where he had already made a lot of friends in the industry because of his utilizing YouTube as a platform. And then he started to notice, and he said this in some of his vlogs, you know, he's been very open about this. He started to notice that some of those people that he had made friends with in the industry were beginning to be afraid to talk to him. And he, because he had a lifetime of abuse and neglect, I think, I'm sort of projecting how I feel about his situation here, I guess. But I feel like a lifetime of abuse and neglect has allowed him to look at that scenario as it was happening and say, my God, I've made friends with all these wonderful people. I don't want to hurt my friends' feelings and have them not want to talk to me.
I don't want to hurt my finances and not have shit to say.
Right,
oh God,
you know, but in the so he actually like made a video one time where he was like, you know, I'm not going to attack anybody specifically anymore. I'm not here to hurt people. I'm still going to go after the hot button issues, but I'm going to talk more generally about things. But like he still goes back and forth between that all the time. He can't control himself. Earlier,
dude, you know what? Can we just cut to it? I have never seen anyone on this planet go so far to tell you he has no opinion. My God.
Yeah, and then he just all opinion.
I'm like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like,
no, that's fine. Every other day, I agree. He's just like, no, I'm not going to say anything about that anymore because obviously it's, you know, hurting my views and blah, blah, blah.
In the middle bullshit with like just sitting on the fence on shit that doesn't work. Like, if you don't care, dude, shut the fuck up and go play a game.
Yes.
Like, how many like, I swear to God, man. And you know what? No, let's even get into further this. This dude is a fucking just come out of your Gamergate closet, motherfucker. Just do it. Because
oh God, I feel like I'm missing something here.
Dude, this dude is a closet Gamergator. Like, just read his tweets, man, and you'll see it. Because this dude has written tweets that start out with shit like, I'm not trying to sound racist, but ... And I'm like, dude, really? But I really don't have an opinion on this. Guys, isn't it great when neo-Nazis and us meet in the middle and all this shit? I'm like, you know what, dude? Shut up.
Yeah, but like, yeah, on the surface, he puts up this front where it's like, yeah, I'm totally cool and normal and neutral. Totally neutral. But except earlier this year, he was in a bit of hot water from people because he went on someone's podcast on YouTube and he did an interview, and it was a lengthy interview. And in one of the parts of the interview, they were talking about, I don't even know how they got on the topic, but like they were talking about like gay rights and gay marriage and everything. And he laid out the opinion, and I'm totally paraphrasing here, but he laid out the opinion where it was basically like, yeah, I don't think they handled it the right way. Just come out and be like, boom, give us our rights. You know, like we deserve to get married. But basically, he's like, I'm more of a fan of like planting seeds and letting those trees grow slowly because
Boogie is basically the guy that tells black people to protest the right way over there somewhere in the corner.
Because his point is that like I understand the place he was sort of coming from, because it's like, what happens when you just sort of put this out there, you know, just without any sort of rhyme or reason to it, and you just say, okay, rights now. People are losing their lives. People are getting angry, and then some people aren't handling it well, and they're killing transgender people. They're killing gay people, and this sort of thing is happening. But I'm more of an advocate, he would say, for maybe taking 10 to 20 years to let that message marinate a bit so that people can get used to the idea of this, and then they can have their rights, and then nobody has to lose their lives.
Because he thinks gay people sprung up in 2013 all of a sudden.
And he's like, you know, like I think he even made a comment, was like, it's great to fight for your rights and everything like that, but what good are your fucking rights if you're fucking dead? And I understand what he's saying, but like there were tons of, transgender people and gay people who came out immediately after this came out as a story, and they were like, fuck you. You know what? I'd rather die tomorrow being who I am than wait 20 years for some asshole to say it's okay for me to be me. So he got in a lot of shit for that. And then now more recently, he's been doing a lot, just like all these other YouTubers, but him especially. He whines and whines and whines about how things are changing on YouTube. Again, we've had this conversation on the podcast. YouTube don't owe you shit. It's their platform. They can decide whether you even want to get money from those videos or not. You don't like it? Put up your own goddamn web stream somewhere and pay for the hosting.
About free speech and shit against a corporation, like dictate their own policies.
Okay, right. Wait a second. How about tomorrow YouTube goes, hey, we're Telltale now. We're closing. Go fuck yourselves. What happens then? Are you going to feel sorry for all the YouTubers? Poor YouTubers.
That's a different scenario.
It's
a free platform. You're stretching. You're reaching.
I'm going to go for a smoke. I'll be back.
So with Boogie2988, the reason why he's gotten into hot water now is because hot water coincidentally is involved. He had a couple of his friends that he was doing one of those like terrible YouTube challenge videos for. They were sitting in a bathtub, and his idea apparently was to make a human stew. He wasn't going to burn or scald them or anything, but it was just they're going to be in the hot bathtub and he's going to pour in all these ingredients. Ha ha ha, won't this be stupid and fun? So like he starts this video sitting in front of his computer and he's like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And he starts cracking up. He's laughing his ass off about this. He's like, but it didn't turn out the way that I thought it would. Things went south fast. And then we see the video footage of him intercut with him talking to the camera on occasion and laughing about this. And he says, I don't know why I'm laughing so much about this in between all this. And he shows, like, he puts in like a chili powder or a cayenne pepper powder or something. He's just dumping it in there, right? And that's part of the gag or something. What he didn't realize is that this shit's water activated and was actually leaving welts on his friend's skin. So YouTube didn't take the video down. They didn't ban it. They didn't ban him. They didn't censor him. They just age restricted the video, okay? So then he goes on social media and he starts complaining like they age restricted my video, and they said they were doing it because they don't want young kids to go and do the same stupid shit. Imagine that. And I'm sitting there, reading this on my cell phone or whatever, and I'm like, of course they age restricted it. You know why? Because they don't want people to do the same stupid fucking thing that you literally just did to your friends. Like you see Boogie2988, hello, you see all these challenge videos and they often go wrong. You say, hey, let's do this. Nobody ever intends for this bad shit to happen. There was a wife one time, she was pregnant, and her YouTuber husband, they did like dangerous stunts, and she had a great idea of, he had the idea, I think. I'm going to hold a telephone book against my chest and you're going to fire a bullet into it.
I knew that's the one you were going to talk about. I remember that.
And they tested it, and they tested, and the bullet didn't go through the phone book. So they're like, we're good, we're cool, and we're going to get so many views. They changed the gun or something like that before they actually shot the video. And unfortunately, the bullet, I think they used a fucking Desert Eagle at the time of the shooting.
Yeah.
Of the filming. That was
we actually might have talked about it.
I think we might have.
On another episode or before, because I remember going insane about that because they used a Desert Eagle.
Yeah. Like, why would you change whatever you use to like pretty much one of the most powerful hand cannons that you can use? But the point is that accidents happen all the time, and that's why these are the cautionary tales on YouTube, and why people get upset about these sort of things. And YouTube, Boogie2988 is complaining about having his video age restricted. Motherfucker, what did you think was gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like, he gets under my skin, but there are worse people out there. Boogie2988 is terrible, but one of the things that I've been wanting to talk about,
Boogie2988 is fucking terrible.
He is fucking terrible. And to a certain extent, like, I like Angry Joe sometimes, and sometimes I hate him too, because he gets a bit on the whiny side and complains and this and that, and he's done some things in the past that I don't really think are right, you know. I probably brought it up a long time ago, but I remember one time he was like, oh, I'll cover, you know, he did some sort of like crowdfunding thing. He was doing a live stream, you know, and he was like, yeah, if we reach a certain tier with the money that comes in, I'll buy a Nintendo Wii U so I can review games on that too. And then, you know, it turned into this whole thing where he did get the money, he got the Wii U, and then he puts a video up, and Nintendo did the Nintendo thing that everybody knew that they were going to do, and they said, oh, no, we want a huge cut of that money. You're not going to get money off of our stuff. And so, you know, like, then he's like, I'm not going to do reviews for you anymore. It's free promotion. What are you talking about? And it's like, your fucking fans bought you that console so you could do reviews, and you knew this was going to happen. But as I said, there are worse people, and the one person is that I hate and loathe more than anything in this last year on YouTube is Logan Paul. Yeah, you came right back in time for that, Gabe.
Dude, he's such a known quantity in Italy. Like, I had to Google that name. I had no idea.
Well, I didn't at the time when this thing happened. I didn't
know who he was until the incident occurred.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was.
The only reason I know who he is because the UFC president talked about him because he wanted a fight in the UFC, and the president goes, "Yeah, that would be like me putting a 4-year-old like schoolboy inside the octagon. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man?"
But they had that boxing match, 2 YouTubers, Logan Paul and someone else. Yeah. They had it.
Must have been thrilling.
But yeah, I mean, I wanted to bring this up because my life it has been a lot better since I lost a lot of weight, but then it started declining again once I lost my grandmother over the summer. My life has always been touched with anxiety and depression, and I've gotten to points where I've been low enough where I would say, I don't think I've ever gotten to a point where it's like, I'm going to do something to myself and just go away, but I've definitely been at the points where it's like, I really don't want to be here anymore. There is a difference. Some people don't think so. So Logan Paul, he had already sort of made a name for himself by going to Japan and making an ass out of himself. Like, he was very culturally insensitive, you know, like they're a society over there that sort of keep to themselves. They're not about being loud and boisterous and obnoxious, and he's running around through the streets of, you know, freaking Tokyo or whatever, dressed up as Pikachu, throwing big plush Pokemon balls under the cars as they're driving through, you know, intersections, bringing dead fish into department stores, wiping it on the windows of restaurants, and like just doing all this other shit. And he had the bright idea one day. Well, I'm over here. I'm gonna go hike through the what's known as the suicide forest in Japan, and I get the appeal for doing a video like that. I'll stick up for him for that, because when you hear something like that, oh, it's the suicide forest. What is it known for? Lots of people kill themselves. I think that sort of elicits a mental response that says it's almost like going to visit a haunted house or something. You know, there's that house 2 neighborhoods over that everybody's heard the legend of, and you know what? Me and my friends are going to go there, and we're going to spend the night, and we're going to see if anything actually happens in there, you know? I get it, you know? So he and his crew into this suicide forest, which is so big and so dense, like you lose cell phone coverage, and people go in there specifically to kill themselves, and their bodies might not be found because it's so large and people will never come across it. You go there specifically to be alone, and that's why so many people go to this place to commit suicide, unfortunately. So they're doing this, and then all of a sudden, you know, with the camera and everything, it's like, oh my God, what's that way over there? It's a dead body. At this point, I think a normal fucking human being would probably say, put the cameras down. Like, what the fuck? We found a dead body. No, they go up to the fucking dead body with the camera up in its face, taking pictures of the guy's purple hands because he's hanging from the tree. You know, all detail, and he's doing a dab in front of the video, in front of the body rather. So insensitive and so tasteless. And that's not even really the worst part. Well, it kind of is, because this poor guy had enough of fucking life and dealing with life and dealing with people in it that he can't even get peace in death. Okay? Some asshole, which is probably the last thing he would have wanted, has to go into the forest with a fucking camcorder and take video of this guy. And then take a car ride from the forest to the hotel that he's staying at. Take a car ride from the hotel to the airport. Go from the airport overseas to where he lives. Go from the airport to go home. Go home, actually edit all the fucking footage together, and then post it on YouTube. And he has to go through the upload process. And not once during that whole fucking time frame did he have the decency or a single brain cell that just screamed out, don't post it. It's a bad fucking idea. What are you going to do to the family members of that guy by putting that on the internet?
Who might not have known that he went to go do that. Like, you could,
right. He could have just been missing and they could have had hope. Nope, there he is. He's on fucking YouTube because of this asshole, right? And he posted it, and then everybody went ape shit, and then he sort of did one of those like apologies that weren't really an apology, right?
Sorry you got offended, like, kind of nonsense.
Then he disappeared. Then he disappeared for like a month, and then he came back. And what did he do when he came back? Do you think he learned anything? He made a little speech, you know, like, I want to be better than that.
He did what all YouTubers do, and it's manufactured, where they play up their remorse.
Yeah.
But it's not genuine. Like, it's still for the fucking camera.
The first thing that he did when he came back was fucking poke a fucking dying animal with a fucking stick and, like, basically encourage people to eat Tide Pods. He didn't learn anything. Did it really matter? Probably not. But, like, I wanted to bring that up because, like, I
know where the Tide Pod thing came from.
Well, this was when it was hot. He didn't start it. But that makes it even worse, actually, because he knew that this was something that was happening and a lot of people were poisoning themselves. And, you know, after a month off, after being such a prick, that's what he does when he comes back. He's just still continuing to do the same irresponsible shit. You know, this all ties into people, and this, you know, he wasn't a video gaming YouTube personality like Boogie is, or like Angry Joe or PewDiePie, but this caused ramifications for YouTube in general, because with this, YouTube had to say, wow, this guy is really fucked up and he's going to fuck everything up for us. I mean, this because of Logan Paul, this is when things really started to get real with advertisers making that deep push to say, we want to have a say over where our ads are going to play on your platform. We don't want our ads that we're spending money for on a douchebag's channel like that. You know, we have that kind of control to say when and where our ads, what we're paying for, when they're going to air on TV and what they're going to air during. We want the same control on your platform to a certain degree. That's not acceptable. And there were a lot of people after that point who just started saying, nope, 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 we don't want to advertise with you. This already happened because of PewDiePie too, with his racist shit, you know, and anti-Semitism that he did. So, like, this just helped to further that along. And the conversation at large is, like, the most mainstream voices that we have for gaming on YouTube, they're terrible. Look, I appreciate the likes of Jim Sterling, because I think he's probably getting the messages out that need to get out there, right? Like, he's kind of like maybe where Boogie2988 should have veered to. He should have zigged in Jim Sterling's direction instead of zagged in the direction that he did.
I know this discussion is about YouTube, but have you ever seen the joke about, you know how, you know, Jeff Keighley has the Game Awards every year?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you ever notice, like, who the list of trending, that award for best trending gamer or whatever has been? And you've looked at the list and it's just like, yep, maybe don't have this award. anymore.
Right. I mean, it was all it's people like Boogie2988, and you have your Jim Sterlings and everything. It's these people that and Jim Sterling agitates me too, because even though he's getting the good word out there and he's hammering the industry for all the points they need to be hammered for, he's the one person that people are watching the most to actually get that message out, and that's very positive. However, he is inciting rage culture, and then he turns around in most of his videos when something blows up, because he's inciting this and his fan base to go harass people. He then has to turn around and say, I shouldn't have to say this, but don't do that. But he keeps doing it time and time again. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't learn anything from what's happening from his own actions. So again, he's another, we as gamers, and this is what I wanted to get to with all this stuff, we deserve better than people like this. Why hasn't there been anybody that's come along that's produced a show that gamers can actually like look at and be like, this is the real shit. They're doing it honestly and respectfully. They're not tethered.
Funny thing is, those channels are probably out there, and they just
don't they are
views that like they probably like deserve or are warranted. Like, I'm sure that they exist out there too. Like, one of my favorite channels, although I do think he gets the views, is oh my god, man, not Mark. I forgot his Twitter handle's British Gaming, but it's like the British Gaming like YouTube channel where he breaks down like why a mechanic works in certain games and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, send me a link to that later if you remember, so I can watch him.
Oh wait, I know who was talking about.
Mark Brown. Mark Brown.
Yeah.
I even like watching like stupid stuff that's not really that informative, but it's like interesting, like top 10 lists kind of stuff, like What Culture Gaming. I like watching them because they do a lot of like, it keeps amazing.
Okay.
I keep getting amazed by all the different lists that they keep coming up with. Like, there was one not too long ago. I'm gonna have to pull it up on YouTube. I'll just reference some of these. But they have good personalities. They're a positive channel. They don't really sling a lot of hate. They're fun to watch.
I'm gonna make a couple suggestions. Joseph Anderson on YouTube and Chris Davis. They basically do long form analysis of games, and even though I don't agree with everything, they're good at what they do. So
I'll check them out too.
Yeah, they're not super big, but they're a good place.
So like some of the videos I'm talking about is like, there's a list 10 times that video games made you look like an idiot. The 10 best Spider-Man games of all time, 10 best let's see, hold on a second, 8 most powerful gaming moments of all time, the 10 underrated RPGs you need to play, 9 most overrated video games of the decade, 9 reasons why the PS Vita is easily better than Nintendo Switch. What are some of the interesting 10 worst parts of 2018's biggest video games? Like, they just keep coming up with these lists all the time, and like sometimes they're like really obvious, but sometimes they're things that are like, huh, yeah, I did think about that and never really kind of gave it much thought, and it's cool. So like there are a lot of good personalities out there. You just have to be willing to kind of click around on YouTube for a while and find them. Like, we really do need better than the Jim Sterlings. We need better than Boogie2988. We need better than the Logan Pauls. We need better than all of them, man. We need better than all of them, because like the ones that are getting the clicks, they get the clicks obviously because they're so outrageous and because they elicit that rage response. People,
they pander to the emotional parts of gamers as opposed
and
to like
good journalism doesn't do that. It doesn't elicit the emotional response unless the story in and of itself is inherently emotional. So, yeah, like, think about who you're watching and choose carefully. So, that's all I've got to say about that.
And parents, be parents.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm talking to a parent, technically.
Yeah, my son, he actually watches Logan Paul's brother, and I'm like, you're not my son. You're not my son. And he's like, nah, he's okay. And I'm like, if I ever see or hear anything come from that dude, I don't like it. you're not gonna like it. You know, like one of those things. So we'll just move along, because that was a little bit, the Logan Paul part was got me a bit riled up, because the insensitivity in that. But moving along to other things to discuss, microtransactions in video games, since we're on a hot roll of things that are terrible in video games. Devil May Cry 5 is confirmed to have microtransactions in the single player mode. Why do we ever need, it's not the first game that's fucking done it. You know, Assassin's Creed has been there and done that and everything, and they're still doing it. But like, why do single player games even need the microtransactions? This is a conversation that comes up. Not the first time we've had it, but it is the first time in a while that we've had this conversation, and it's important to revisit these conversations when these things come up in the news. I mean,
because cheat codes are not profitable.
Because companies found out that people are willing to pay for this shit.
Yeah.
And it's just going to keep. I read about it because I brushed up a little before we started recording too, and there's the usual reactions of like, oh, it's optional, bother with this, and like, oh, well, it sucks, and and then DualShock. If you go to DualShockers, they actually kind of broke down.
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
However many orbs you can get in the game without actually buying them, and like. And some people are like, well, Devil May Cry 4, the special edition or whatever it was called, like did this, and
that makes me mad because I'm a fan of Devil May Cry. I own every single one of them, multiple copies of some games. The point of Devil May Cry 4 is so fucking moot because they added micros in a game that was already made years before, okay? And when they re-released it, it's not like they tweaked the game in favor of the micros, okay? It was the same fucking game that came out without the micros. They put in the micros. Shitty, yes, but it didn't affect the game development at all because there were no micros 4 years before or fucking 6 years before. This one, if you plan the microtransactions from the start, for fucking sure it's gonna affect the development and the flow of the game. Like, there's no fucking, how else are they gonna incentivize buying the micros? Like, and people defend this shit. I'm seeing on the forums, like the usual ones.
You've
like
even had a private conversation recently with someone.
Yeah, well, that's a very dear friend of mine. Unfortunately, when he loves something and he loves Devil May Cry just maybe even more than me, he gets super defensive. But anyway, I mean, I wish this shit would just fucking disappear in the deepest hole of the universe.
Yeah, I completely agree because I don't think it's necessary. Like it all comes back down to that question: why would you spend $60 for a game and then spend more money on top of that to not play the game?
Yeah.
And if you're bringing home a game and you find out that the grind is too much, then that game has been affected by the microtransactions that have been put.
That was fucking bad game design years ago.
It was bad game design, right? Unless you were a Western RPG or a Japanese RPG, I should say, an Eastern RPG. Yeah, then the grind, but like grinding's okay because it just back then it was like just more gameplay and more bang for your buck. But now it's clearly done to incentivize taking advantage of people, Yeah. So that's shitty.
And dude, I'm waiting like a motherfucker for Devil May Cry because it's been so long. Like I love the fact that it's coming out. I'm loving everything I see about the game except for this shit.
You're usually a very staunch, supporter of not supporting this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we know that if you love a franchise enough, you'll get into it anyway. Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain was one such game. Where do you stand on the Devil May Cry 5 microtransactions debacle? Are you going to buy that game, or are you just saying, nah, this is too Shadow of War for me?
I really want to buy it. No, well, I think way better than Shadow of War. Shadow of War was really like Wow, man, you're pushing the envelope. Like, I guess I'm still in wait and see. Like, if before this news, I was a day one for sure. I don't give a fuck. Like, collectors, whatever they're gonna put out, I'm gonna buy it. And now I'm instantly like, I'll wait and see, which doesn't bode well for my purchase. So
yeah,
it's sad because fuck me, I want to support this industry, but
they're making it hard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had a conversation a long time ago where I had to battle my own demons with it because this shit sucks. But you know, I told you the other day when you were telling me about how your friend was defending this, and they basically said to you, look, you can have fun in your miserable corner, Gabe. I'm going to decide to have fun with the game. And that's kind of where I fall on that side of the fence. Like, yeah, these things suck, but unless it's really going to ruin my experience with the game, like really ruin it where I'm not having fun with it, then I'm going to choose to have fun with it, you know? So that's, I understand that. But at the same time, like, he was making some he was defending this. Like, well, you still earn this many orbs in the game, and I got it.
Yeah, the point is the thing. Is such a big fan that is a billion hours of that game. So for sure is gonna buy everything like legit in the game without, like, micros are not gonna affect him.
Right, and not everybody has that time in their lives, you know,
or that passion to play like 400 hours of a game or whatever.
Right.
So
even if they'd like to, you know.
So I totally get his point of view. He's not gonna be affected by the micros, but I still think it's something that is shitty and it shouldn't be there. Like it
you want to know what else is shitty? What else is shitty is when a video game console comes out, and not at the turn of the new release of the console, but like a year and a half later, they say, we're going to throw multiplayer behind a paywall. Nintendo Switch Online is finally out and about, and they're basically asking, was it $20 for a year?
$20 for 1 year, but there's like smaller tiers, or you can pay $35
for like 8 members for your family, right? Something like that. Yeah. So I just mentioned the first biggest problem that I have with this. Like, you know,
Nintendo was like 10 steps forward when this fucking Switch came out. I mean, in terms of, you could argue about the OS all day, whatever. And then, like, fucking jumped 20 back when they announced everything about the internet.
Right, and once they announced it, like, there were just more and more and more news stories that made the proposition worse and worse and worse.
Like the first like red flag, I guess, was people like, oh my god, the friend codes are back.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nintendo Switch Online, and you know what, like, other than the topics people have been talking about with, like, I haven't. The only thing I've done on it is play like the NES game on it. Like, I haven't played multiplayer game under Nintendo Switch Online. Like, I haven't gone back to like Splatoon 2 or anything yet.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm gonna pay for it eventually, but I haven't yet, just because I have not had a desire to play Mario Kart 8 or Splatoon 2, which are the only 2 multiplayer games that I would play for, but I love them enough that when I'm in the mood to play them, I'll pay for the multiplayer access. But as for now, they're just kind of sitting in limbo because I'm having so much fun playing games like Dead Cells and Sonic Mania and even Skyrim on the Switch.
But the big story, which actually saw sort of something of an update today, was that so the big thing was that Nintendo Switch Online would have cloud saves, which was a huge deal, sadly, because there is literally no other way to back up your fucking Switch save without like homebrewing a console.
And that's a big deal when the leading game that you put out day and date the console releases is a game like Breath of the Wild, where you could literally just whatever for 100 hours.
And Nintendo will straight up tell you, oh, well, we can't get your save back. Like, when the company
but we hear
can't
you.
Get your own fucking, yeah, we hear you, but we can't find your save file. We hear you. Like,
Yeah.
I saw an interesting thread on, I don't remember what it was, maybe Reddit, but anyway, a guy was like, you know what? I fucking hate the fact that all my what you call it, the cartridges of the Switch are gonna be useless 10 years from now because there's so many updates and patches that basically I'm gonna have a string of what feels incomplete games at the end of the day because
I
I
think
can't
you bring up
store.
an interesting point because for anybody who's been listening to this podcast for any length of time, I've always been the buy physical media, buy physical media, buy physical media, support physical media today. I've always been that guy because I do not trust digital only as a future. And you know, there's you see stories all the time where it's like, oh well, I paid for this and now it's gone, and that sort of stuff. And you know, there's anything can happen to any company at any time. You know, Telltale Games is a good example of that. You know what I mean? Your purchases are not safe forever and ever. As soon as Sony decides it's not worth it for us to host the servers for the PS3 one day, then you won't have access to the store anymore to re-download titles that you paid for. You don't have a big enough memory card to fit everything on there. Oh well, you know.
And not only Sony, but also the like, let's call them smaller company or third parties if you want. Like, just a quick example. Like 2 weeks ago, I was I was binge watching JoJo's cartoons, animes, and I was like, I wonder. I remember missing one game in the JoJo franchise for the PS3. I wonder if it's online. So I go in the store and it's not in the online store. I go on Amazon, I find it, $9. But I remember there being a lot of DLCs, and I was like, well, $9 the game, I can actually get all the DLCs, and they will add characters and whatnot. And the DLCs were cheap, were not like crazy. And so I ordered the game. Then I go on the store again to check what exactly the DLCs were, and I find out that there are no DLCs anymore on the store. Like on your guys on the American store, they're still up. On the European one, for some fucking reason, they took them away. And I should buy the American version. You know, I should import that in order to use the because those are region locked, the DLCs.
It's pretty bananas, right?
Yeah. So fuck them. I didn't buy the game. I didn't buy. You lost a customer.
But like the point is too is like, as much as I've been a physical media kind of guy, like in 2018, I do look at my disc collection. I say, I'm tempted. I have the thought. I'm still out of habit always buying physical copies, but like I'm definitely tempted, especially now that I have a 4 terabyte hard drive attached to my PS4 and a 4 terabyte attached to my Xbox One. Why even bother with physical copies anymore? They don't serve a purpose, not even on the Nintendo Switch anymore, because you have the day one update. And sometimes those day one updates, like literally, is the difference between playing a severely broken game that wasn't ready for launch and playing a game that works. But again, those servers go away at some point. Your disc is going to be worthless. It's not going to be worth installing that game and playing. Wolfenstein, that Wolfenstein game that came out, it's always a great example that sticks out in my head. Like there was a 7 gigabyte patch on day one, and like there were people who were playing the game early that were severely concerned about the state of that game, but the patch made everything right as rain, and it was an amazing game.
Yeah.
So I say to myself all the time, why don't I just save the space and just buy things digitally? Like I'm on the edge, man. Like this industry is like basically once again, they're like sort of twisting my arm, you know, like I'm trying not to get there, but I mean, realistically, what do I have to lose?
I was talking with Gus like a week ago or so when we were preparing the issue of the magazine, and we both pretty much kind of went digital this generation because personally, I'm happy about it. Because I've replaced at least 5 Blu-ray readers for friends that have the PS4, and they were all physical. They didn't buy digital, and it fucks up. Like it's thing that happens, and I had to replace 4 of them for friends. So yeah, that's an aspect of it. And the other, of course, it's as you said, the patches and everything. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason like I think I have physical games still is because of the Best Buy Gamers Club unlocked, and once that goes away, like games are gonna be $59.99 again. So, and yeah, I actually got a really good deal on a 4 terabyte drive that's like just waiting to have digital shit installed. I mean, I already
yeah,
have stuff installed on there, but yeah, man, like it's like it feels like a losing battle basically.
It feels
which
like it's already completely lost.
there's one thing that I'm gonna like jump ahead on another topic that I know you talk about, but it's tied to this one, like name changing.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let's just get into it.
Okay. Well,
Introduce it, Gabe.
My question. No. Everybody knows about changing the name of the PSN, and you can't. But we will. But my point has always been, how in the motherfucking fuck is that a priority? Like when you could ask for shit like, give me the ability to sell my digital games as used. Give me the ability to fucking, I don't know, like there's a million things, and this fucking name change thing has been like the most requested feature for years now.
I think
Like,
I actually agree with that point, but the only perspective I'll offer is that I think why it gets brought up so often is because the idea that you can't change your name sounds just so asinine
In 2018.
in
I'm with you on that. But the
Yeah.
fact that is to be the most requested
Oh,
priority,
I get
like
it completely.
because 10 years ago you named yourself Pokemon Pikachu, and now you're grown up and you hate it. I don't give a shit.
XX Goku 420. Like,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Pour
the
a
thing.
beer for the guy who named himself D's nuts at some
No,
point.
I actually think you're right on that, and I just think like, and it's not even disagreeing. It's like I think it's the fact that it's so crazy that you cannot do
It
that
is. It
with
is.
Sony that people are like, no, why isn't this? How is this a hard thing you can't do? In
But
the
they
10 years that you like, I'm just about 10 years that PSN has been online, like 10 to 12 years.
but wait for
Meanwhile,
it.
Microsoft did it in like 3, but you have to pay for it.
They heard you though.
But the story, it's a rumor. It's not even a story. The rumor is, and it comes from Tidux, TIDUX on
It has
Twitter.
been a questionable source according to people, anyway.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm not to cut the topic or anything.
No,
it's still worth talking
that's
about.
why I'm clearly stating it's a rumor. But they've been on the ball with some rumors in the past, and yeah, like any other leaker, things change behind the scenes, or maybe the person that they were talking to didn't have all the facts right. But apparently, the rumor is, hey, we're on the right track. PSN name changes could possibly be coming after some update, but maybe for the next console or whatever changes they're going to do to PSN. But with the change, you're pretty much going to have to kiss all your purchases that were tied to your account prior to the PS4 goodbye. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
What happens to your old account then? Does that just become your PS3 and PS Vita account that you have, and then you can't ever change that stuff, but you can change the PS4 and beyond? What is going on?
Video games are painful now.
It's just it just seems like such a steep price, a needlessly steep price to ask for being able to have the ability to have Sony fix their goddamn network infrastructure.
God, yeah.
I mean, why should people have to sacrifice their PS3 and PSP and those and PS Vita purchases? Like, why? I mean, you were talking about having a hard time connecting shit with your PS Vita before, but I mean, this is
I'd love to remind everyone how bad it was.
I mean, that's terrible. Like, if that's true, like Sony has been skating by on the good graces of not being the Xbox One since the beginning of the generation.
Bad exclusives and PS4 sales and fucking games about like crying dads and motorcycle gangs or whatever the fuck Days Gone is.
They have
God of War and fucking sad dads.
We sort of kind of wrapped up the last podcast by heading into this direction, but like I feel like it's kind of easing into the same point now. So the podcast that nobody heard, by the way, because everything got screwed up as we mentioned before, but it's an interesting topic to me that Sony have been able to coast by this entire generation, and yet Microsoft now are finally at a point where they were able to show people this year that no, we're not down and out. We just spent the entire generation fixing a big screw up.
Yeah.
And they're saying, we hear you, but they're actually showing us that they've heard us and that they're working on whatever that people have been saying. They're going out there and they're going after game development studios. During E3, they said, "Well, we snatched up these 5 studios." And then ever since there's been like, no, we're getting more. We're getting less, like Japanese RPG developers. We're actively getting, the content that you guys are looking for. We're also working on the new Xbox machine. We're going to beef up the CPU because that hasn't been done in generations. We're going to make sure that we're still, the best GPU and best looking console on the market. We're going to have those exclusives for you. Backwards compatibility isn't going anywhere. Like, people are like, fuck yeah, Microsoft. Like, I feel like even a lot of Sony fans right now are primed to see what Microsoft are going to be in the next generation. And right now, like, you're looking at Sony with a rumor like this and them, and then getting near the end of this generation, and their response isn't to say, hey, we're working on backwards compatibility, but to double down on PS Now and say, oh, you can download the games now when you play them because we have to do that because of Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like, I really, like, how stupid are Sony? That's my question. Are they going to launch the PS5 and not have backwards compatibility with at least PS4 games? I really want to know.
I have no idea. And there's no excuse to not have it anyway for the PS3 as well, because I fucking have it on the PC, on a PC from 3 or 4 years ago. I can play PS3 games. So if you're gonna come out,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go on. No.
But the cell architecture, it's completely impossible.
Oh, fuck them.
Right?
That bullshit.
I was gonna say that it's interesting though how now doubling down they are on backwards compatibility, especially with another topic we'll address in a bit. But after what's his face at Sony, Ryan, whatever. Well, actually, the people who want backwards compatibility are a vocal minority and et cetera, et cetera. And it's just kind of funny to me that now they're just doubling down on it. And I don't believe him. I did not really believe him at all, because, like, you can't just ignore the legacy of something like the PlayStation 2 and botch it as much as you did for PS4, because you botched it for PS4.
Yeah. Sony want their money, and they're not shy about it.
Yeah.
They're coming out with, since you kind of just sort of helped segue into it, they announced very recently, piggybacking off of Nintendo doing the mini consoles, now the PS1 Classic is going to be coming out in December. And I bought the NES Mini and the SNES Mini, and I've had fun playing them on my HD TV. I've had a lot of fun watching Evan play them too, and playing with him, but I'm not so excited about the PS1 Classic. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is that for some reason, Sony did not just give us the straight 20 list, the 20 games that are going to be on this thing. They only unveiled the first 5 for some reason. How are they
not catching more flack for that?
Because people love their Sony.
Because you're asking $100 for this thing, and you're only telling me Final Fantasy.
And that's a lot. That's a lot of money.
Especially if you don't have analog controllers.
And everybody and their grandmother has a copy of Final Fantasy VII on something, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's the PC or their Xbox 360 or their PS3 or their PS4.
I made sure that I got the copy after I made sure that I downloaded it and not installed it on my PS3 so that I can copy it to my fucking Vita.
It's absolutely bananas. Yeah, people love their Sony, but like I'm also not excited. And
the DualShock thing is crazy. I'm sorry.
Gabe had to point it out to me. I didn't even think about that at first, and he was like, "No DualShocks, no sale," and I was like, "Holy shit, you're right."
So if you put Metal Gear Solid on there, Psycho Mantis will not use his powers to move your controller.
There's worse. You cannot put Ape Escape on it.
I was gonna say you can't even fucking play.
Yeah, you can, because you're gonna be able to do nothing. Like,
and not only that, but if they're intending to not, if they're telling us right now with no analog sticks that maybe we're not going to have a game like Metal Gear Solid on this thing, then what the fuck is even the point of buying it?
I don't know, but think how full of shit they are. Like, backwards compatibility, it's something nobody cares about. They say, like, they're vocal minority, they're pieces of shit that don't listen to them. However, we are gonna make a retro, like what we could put in your fucking today console. We're gonna give you a small version of the yesterday console that you have to put over the, like, what the fucking people are lapping it up like it's fucking whatever. It gets me so fucking mad, man.
I mean, if Nintendo announces an N64 Mini tomorrow, I'm gonna pre-order it in full, and I'm getting that. I'm excited for that because one of my most replayed games of all time is Super Mario 64, and you know, I was having a conversation with Gabe the other day, and he's like, "Motherfucker, why would you buy these things? Why don't you just get a RetroPie and be done with it?" And I'm like, because I want something that's going to emulate the N64 without issues, and the RetroPies, unfortunately, really aren't there with it because the N64 is not the easiest console to emulate on a game-to-game basis. Some games really require some extra TLC in order to run properly, and he's like, you got a point there. But if Nintendo puts out an N64 Mini, the games are going to run the way that they're supposed to run. They'll make sure of that. So, like, it's easy money from my wallet to Nintendo's if they do that, and soon. And I so hope they put it out before Christmas to undercut that fucking garbage PS1 classic. I really do.
Fucking pay the money to get GoldenEye on that thing. I will fucking buy 4 of them.
And you know what? A lot of people are like, "Oh, that's going to cost an ass load of money," and it might. But is that more of an acclaim thing, or is that more of a rare thing? Because if that's a rare thing, I mean, Microsoft might sell it for a decent price to Nintendo just in order to get that sort of goodwill.
What, a GoldenEye?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question, because I don't even know who's got the rights.
Exactly.
First of all,
I figured if Rare were able to do it, they would have put it on the Rare collection on the Xbox One.
Because they definitely worked on a GoldenEye HD the way they did Perfect Dark, but there was video of it out there somewhere.
Now wait, didn't a GoldenEye HD came out actually?
No, they did like a semi.
There's footage of it though that exists, but
yeah,
something came out.
Yeah, but like they replaced Pierce Brosnan with Daniel Craig, and like the game had some similarities, but there were also different aspects to it. It came out on the Wii, didn't it?
The Wii GoldenEye, and then it came out like.
Oh, we lost your audio there.
Me?
Yeah, for a second you dropped out there for a second. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Eurocom did that GoldenEye remake with Daniel Craig. But Rare, like if you remember Perfect Dark on Xbox Live Arcade, the way they did they were supposedly working, and that footage is on YouTube somewhere if you look it up.
I think I have seen that. Everybody should Google and search, scour YouTube for that.
GoldenEye XBLA, it should be there.
The last thing that I wanted to get to today, I think we're finally rounding it down here, is Vampire. We talked about Vampire a bit on the podcast that we didn't get to let you guys hear. And I think, Gabe, I know you played it. Did you ever play that, Gus?
I have not played it.
Okay, so Gabe and I have played it, and I think he was a little more positive about moving forward with the story because he really liked the story aspect of it and the characters and everything, where I just said that the entire experience felt really tedious because every time you talk to someone, you move somewhere, and then you get into a battle, and the battle felt like garbage, those mechanics, because like it wanted to be like Bloodborne, but you only had a certain amount of reach, which is fine, but then your enemies had such more reach than you had. Like they could be halfway across freaking, London and like jump at you and leap at you and attack, and like there's not much you can do because your little juke move that you have to kind of sidestep out of the way isn't gonna do anything in order to evade. Like it doesn't have that Dark Souls sort of grace where it's like if you dodge at the right time, you're not gonna get out, without being hit. Like in Vampire, you're gonna get messed up no matter what. And it's really easy for enemies to sort of trap you against a wall or to surround you so that you can't move. And it was a really bad battle system. So there was a lot of people that sort of complained about it. And I don't know if they had some steep sales drop off after the game came out after a few weeks, because a lot of people praised it upon release, but said, yeah, but the combat's not great. They're actually going to be releasing an update for this game that de-emphasizes battle for the people who really just want to experience the story and the characters. And this might actually get me to go back into playing the game, because I really wouldn't mind going and experiencing the story and the characters and saying to the battle mechanics, At the same time, though, I almost kind of don't want to support this. Like I support the fact that, they're actually listening to their customers, right? And potential customers who are like, oh, I've heard enough bad stuff about the combat where I'm not going to get into it. But at the same time, it's like, why put out the game with that mechanic? It was really that piss poor. Did you guys really play the game and to say, yeah, this is good, this will work, and you've released the game that way? I mean, it's kind of like, I don't really want to reward them for that either. But it isn't too often that you see a sort of independently made game like this get as big as this one does. I mean, many people would probably think that this is like a major AAA sort of game. And a lot of the times you don't see people go back and revisit their work and make these kinds of drastic changes so that everybody can be happy. It's like you get what you get at the time of launch, and then screw you. So I do applaud them for that. I don't know. Like
One thing that I want to know though is if it's optional. Like I haven't read about it, so you have to explain it to me right now. Is it going to be an option? Like I don't know any about this.
Here, I'll Google it right now.
Because if it's not optional,
about it a couple days ago.
I'm not supporting that at all.
So, quote, story mode de-emphasizes combat, placing a greater focus on narrative so players can enjoy Dr. Jonathan Reed's journey with less challenging gameplay. On the other end of the scale, hard mode makes combat much more difficult. So they have a hard mode, I guess, too, that they're introducing. Players will receive less experience from killing enemies, too, forcing them to rely even more on embracing citizens to grow in power. Upon starting a new game, players will be given the option to choose from these two new modes or a third normal mode if they wish to play the original Vampire experience. So they're not completely changing the game. It's an optional thing. Yeah. And just a side note here, which I didn't actually mean to bring up tonight, but since I'm thinking of it, it seems like Vampire is going to be getting a TV series somewhere.
Oh, that could work.
Yeah, I mean,
actually, I think we talk about it. Like, we actually said this could be a good TV show.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if it's done right, I'd totally be up for watching it. Like I think The Witcher could really work too. I'm a little skeptical about Henry Cavill.
I'm skeptical too.
Playing Geralt. I'm not going to judge until I see. Okay, it's not like a lot of the stuff that he's been in has actually really shown off his acting chops too well, anyway. But
I think he's not a bad actor. I think his comedic timing is awesome. I've seen. I don't know if you guys have seen The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's about like deeper roles, I don't think he can pull it off.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Anyway, I don't really have anything else to discuss in this podcast. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to have us cover in this episode. Not bad for us having a show that we didn't,
Yeah.
that we did and then nobody got to see some months back.
Oh, just real quick because we segued really quickly, but yeah, so Nintendo Switch Online, there were cloud saves, but apparently the whole hubbub was that once your subscription ran out, that apparently your saves were gone. But apparently Nintendo put out a statement saying, no, you have 6 months to get your saves. They take your saves.
Yeah, I feel like there was
gone.
I feel like there was enough backlash that they changed it. I could be wrong. Maybe it was just that there wasn't enough information putting out. But that's also on Nintendo if they didn't put that messaging out there. Like, how are you so tone deaf that you don't realize that that's going to scare people away?
I forgot. And we also forgot the part where apparently cloud saves were available for all games because Nintendo is going to Nintendo.
Yeah, like Dark Souls is one of the games that won't be able to do that. And it's like, people literally spend hundreds of hours with their Dark Souls saves. That'd be a real bummer.
They're so worried about fucking cheating. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, I understand you're worried about the exploitable system and everything, Nintendo, but Jesus Christ, give it a rest already.
Nintendo is still afraid for kids. Like,
yeah.
That's why we have nice things like Swap Note.
But I mean, to be fair, like they're so vulnerable, and they know they're so vulnerable. Like somebody has already started adding ROMs to the virtual console aspect.
I have a friend who has themes on his that aren't black or.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, people are already saying, "Oh, we just use the emulator that's provided by Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch Online, and we're already putting ROMs on our Switch that we want to play on our own."
The stupidity that you have to possess to, like, as Gus was saying before, there's no way to copy your save files unless you fucking freeload the not freeload, you custom firmware. Yeah, you unbrewed your Switch. Like, whenever piracy is more convenient than whatever the fuck you're doing it wrong. Take note of it.
Yep.
I mean, to be fair, piracy is almost always more convenient because you never have to leave the house to go get it, and it's free. Technically.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about games. I'm talking about fucking features. Like, why does a pirated console has to have more features than what you're putting out? Like, it's crazy.
It goes back to, like, the iPhones versus Android phones sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you have so much, I'll tell you why, because I had fucking problems with my Android all the time because the goddamn phone would just freeze up and crash, and then it was like it was like a terrible PC. I'm sure it's changed since what I had, but like I've never had operational issues on my iPhones ever. And if that means having that closed platform, I'm okay with that. However, it's a fucking phone. I'm okay with my phone being a phone and then having all the bells and whistles. I don't need an open platform. I don't need to change the way that my fucking digital clock on the front of the face of the phone looks when I hit the power button to see what time it is, Like, I don't need to make it look like the clock from inside the DeLorean and Back to the Future, So, is there anything else that you guys wanted to bring up and talk about today?
No.
Nah? Okay.
Oh, you know what? One quick thing. And
sure.
It's like, there was just real quick, there was a thing, I don't know if you saw this morning, and I forgot to even bring. I don't know if you saw that what is it called? Total War Rome 2?
I didn't hear about this.
Strategy game was getting review bombed because this game apparently has female generals in it, and people apparently, are mad about that historical accuracy shit.
Oh, I did. I even commented about this on Twitter earlier today, and it's like the answer.
It doesn't
to this...
require a whole segment up from us, but shut up, gamers.
Right?
Shut up.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's
shut up.
The same thing happened with like Battlefield and I think Call of Duty and stuff. And it's like, how come you don't have female soldiers in there? And then there's other people who are like, well, because it's not historically accurate. It's like,
The funny thing is,
fucking
there were women
campaigns
that fought in World War II. But okay,
right, but even in the games where they're asking for women to be included and there weren't like women in those arenas historically, who cares? Like, those games are never historically accurate anyway, so why not just fucking let people run around with women avatars if they want them?
Yeah.
You know, who
Shut
gives
up,
a shit?
gamers.
Games are about having fun. If somebody wants to fulfill their fantasy of being able to use a woman avatar because either they are a woman and they want themselves represented when they play the game, or maybe that's just your thing if you're a dude and you want to play as a woman, whatever. Like, give people the fucking option. I mean, is it really that difficult to do? I don't think so. So, anyway.
That's it.
Thank you, Mixer. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Twitch. Hopefully, if everything didn't get all janked up on either of those streams. Thanks for tuning in. I think I like this format for the show. Everything sounded nice and clean, and we didn't have issues, and I've got a hard copy recording here, and we've got multiple backups online at this point. So until next time, hopefully it won't be too long before we do another show. Thank you, Gabe, for being here at around like 5 o'clock in the morning almost your time.
Yep.
And thank you, Gus, for hanging in here tight with me at 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States.
No problem.
By the way, you and I gonna meet in November. Don't you bail.
Oh, yes.
Don't you bail.
Titans will clash. I guess November.
If by Titans clash you mean we're gonna blow money at the fucking Nintendo store or something, then sure.
Probably. That would be my first time. If we end up there, that would be my time going, oddly enough.
I mean, when I go there with my son, because my son will be in the city with me, we are gonna stop at Nintendo and blow some money in there. So count on it. So
Hell yeah, capitalism.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.